ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gentex Multimedia live streaming directly to your device all the way from Brisbane, Australia. It's a wonderful day out there. We'll take a look at what's happening with the weather in a minute. But as we know, there's lots to talk about. It's been a very, very big, it seems like weekend, but it wasn't weekend. It was a Tuesday, yes. So we had Australia Day celebrations throughout. We had India's Republic Day. And of course we had the anniversary of Hindu Society of Queensland, and of course the anniversary of Vishnu Maya Mandir, and there was so much more happening out there, the coverage of which we have, but we can't bring to you all on today's show because we need to prepare for that, get all the clips downloaded and put it in a presentable manner. But we will talk about a lot of things that did happen, and we've got some very good footage that we will like to bring to you, but unfortunately with the time we are unable to bring them to you today, but we will bring to them you tomorrow, because by today we will be able to download all the videos and put them in a presentable format for you. But needless to say, it's been a big day yesterday, very, very big day. We will talk about all of that, but first of all, let's take a look at what's happening with weather, and with that, let's welcome Dilraj.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 31 degree. Brisbane area is partly cloudy with medium chance of showers. The chance of a thunderstorm during this afternoon and early evening. Light winds becoming easterly 15 to 25 km per hour in the middle of the day and then becoming light in the evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Dilraj, for that news update. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we will be moving on with the news, and as we know, there's been a lot that's been happening, and don't forget that today our main segment is the real estate update, the weekly update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. And as I mentioned before, that there's so much that's been happening out there, and we'll bring you all those news of all that's been happening. But also, alongside all of these celebrations throughout the world, there's always a little bit of uproar and protests as well. So, today is covered with protests all around the world. Here in Denmark, in India, and everywhere. So we'll look at how people protest in each and different countries and why they are protesting and what's the reason behind that. And tomorrow we'll bring to you all the live coverages of the big functions that happened in Brisbane. We had the flag raising ceremony at the consulate office, and that was well attended, despite the COVID, and some wonderful speeches there with Archana ji, and of course that wonderful speech of Professor Saab, which everyone everywhere looks forward to listening to. And after that, the 30th anniversary celebration of Hindu Society of Queensland at Gayatri Mandir, and of course the Queensland Sangeet Mela group had their meeting there yesterday as well. And of course after that we had the Rotary Club of Lions Club International with their barbecue and other functions that's happening, the citizenship ceremony that happened at Callum Vale and many other places as well, including Fiji senior citizens. And afterwards the functions were the Suncorp at Sunpack, FICQ's Republic Day celebrations, and then the celebrations of the anniversary at Vishnu Maya Mandir. So just so much that happened yesterday. That's what I said. It feels like it was an all weekend. So all of those coverage, like I said, we unfortunately can't present to you right now because there's lots of photos and videos that need to be downloaded, put in proper format so that we can, display all of them. Well, right now, as I mentioned, that today we will look at some of the protests happening around the world. First, we go to Denmark in the Dutch protest against the COVID-19 and against the lockdowns. So let's take a look at what's happening there.
Auto in de fik! Oh, 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 oh!
Weer een...
As I mentioned, looks like the whole world is filled with lots of protests that are happening. And when we look at these protests, there are so many people who come out. And of course, many times, not all of them are quite aware of what they're protesting against. They have to protest, so they are out there. And many times, these are driven by some other forces as well. So we need to be careful. We need to understand what's the driving force behind them. What is pushing these people to that point of protest, and what are the outcomes of the protest, whether they are the right thing to do. Of course, everyone has their own opinion, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, and you know, that's what the democracy is all about. But what can we do? So these are the kind of things that are happening throughout the world at the moment. And when we look at this first protest, which was in the Dutch protest against the COVID-19 closes and the restrictions. Well, next up, we know that yesterday was the big day for Australia, which is the Australia Day. And of course, there is always this commentary and that dialogue that keeps going on about changing the date as well. Of course, Australia Day is celebrated. There's so many citizenship ceremonies happening. There's so many things that are happening all around as well. But on many, many occasions, we find that, of course, here in Australia, it is also known as the Invasion Day. And of course, it's quite a sensitive matter for our indigenous community. And of course, the First Nations people, you know, their feelings as well is this is the day when you came here. And so there has been so much talks, and still up till date, there is, the common grounds have not been found. So every year, side by side, we have the Australia Day celebrations going on, and we have the protest march that goes on as well. Of course, the protest march, there's always so many people who come out in large numbers supporting the protest as well. And when they come out, look at the manner in which they come out in protest. Well, of course, a protest is a protest. You've got a point to make, and you're making for that point. So first of all, we'll join the protest march here in Brisbane. As you can see, the numbers are quite large, so people are turning out in quite large numbers. So it's our First Nations people, of course, supported by many groups and many organizations who do support that cause. The thing there is that this land has been Aboriginal land always and always will be. So there are protest march, the streets are closed, and as you can see the glimpse there of Victoria Bridge, which is now closed to general traffic. And the big flag, the Aboriginal flag, they are marching on as well, and the onlookers and bysiders marching side by side onto that. So, quite a large gathering there here in Brisbane once again. So, today we are looking at all the protest march which take place side by side with the celebrations that have been taking place as well. As we know, there was a big celebration throughout Brisbane, throughout of course, Australia. So many citizenship ceremonies that took place as well. Right now, we'll go to Melbourne and look at what's been happening there, the protest march in Melbourne. So again, large numbers there. They don't seem to be as large a gathering as was here in Brisbane, but once again, they are there. And as you can see, the police is there on standby as well, guarding, but there is no violence. So, there's no clashes. People are moving forward and moving the agenda forward. And of course, everyone has got a right to their opinion. They've got a right to protest. They have a right, that's what the democracy is all about. It's the means and the methods that's being used that dictates that pertains your behavior. Well, as I mentioned about Melbourne, he is onto the street.
Always love, always will be Aboriginal land. Always love, always will be Aboriginal land. Always love, always will be Aboriginal land. Always love, always will be Aboriginal land.
It's just great to be involved in something bigger than you. I'm just calling for equality and for respect.
I support everyone that was born on this land, and I think that everyone should support the Indigenous people.
Of course. We can celebrate it on a better day that makes us unify, not separate us.
Change the date. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Solidarity with the Indigenous people. It's not our land.
Exactly.
Thank you, Nungojan.
So as you can see from the protest that most of the people and most of their demands is mainly to change the date, and that's about it. Of course, no one can change history. History is something that's written down that took place. Of course, no one can change that, but we can always heal the process and move forward. Of course, the Sorry Day and the Reconciliation Week, all that's being done. But of course, we always need to be very mindful of the emotions of people and everyone who's involved as well. And of course, our First Nations people who've been here always. It is their land and it will always be their land. I think that has been acknowledged. The acknowledgement to country as a protocol for all formal functions and events have been put in place as well. But I think there's still a few areas which need to be sorted out, and the conversation and the dialogue that's been an ongoing dialogue is of the changing the date. And of course, I believe that there has to be a mechanism, there has to be some talks in why and how this matter can be resolved, and then everyone can rejoice and enjoy, recognizing the fact that this is the Aboriginal land, always was and always will be, but of course celebrating the Australian culture and value, of course, which is very important. Of course, we come from different lands, and we say one the sky and sun, as the song goes, but we can leave our differences aside and come to a common platform and celebrate. For that, of course, there's some leadership that's needed, some dialogue that's needed. There has been ongoing dialogue. These protests take place each year, every year, and so those voices need to be heard as well. And of course, somehow the common ground needs to be found, and we need to come. The other ongoing saga is the farmer saga in India. And of course, as we know, that there are so many meetings that have taken place between the farmers and the government, and still there has been no resolution that has been reached. Now, one of the things was that when the protest march was arranged, the tractor rally and the trade permission was given, and there was 3 or 4 routes that had been marked out. An agreement was reached between the farmers and the police that this is what will take place. But what actually happened there is quite different. And of course, the situation needed to be controlled. But what degree of control needs to be put in place? Because the farmers do have their right as well. They have a right to protest, and they are coming forward with their message as well. And of course, it is India's Republic Day. And Republic Day needs to be celebrated as well. The display of which was once again quite spectacular, as is every year. If you if you see that parade, It is just so wonderful to see how they all come together, the pride of different states of India which combine. So that's the thing about India, is the unity in diversity. It's quite a diverse country. So many people from so many different, and bringing together wonderful culture and wonderful display of their tradition and everything, which is quite unique to each of the territory. If you look at down south to up north, each and every state, each and every region has so much to contribute, and there's so much rich culture and heritage that is there. But of course there is always differences as well, and those differences need to be sorted out. The cultural diversity needs to be celebrated, and as we've seen with those marches, each year and every year each state puts forward their floats, and they are nothing short of being spectacular. We'll show you those glimpses in tomorrow's show. As today we didn't have time to download and of course put together everything. There was so much happening yesterday that it was physically impossible to do that. But it was again wonderful to see those displays. I've seen the glimpses, but yesterday we are looking at all the protests. So yesterday you would have all seen on social media and everything that there's so much protest that's been happening. In Brisbane here we had 2 or 3 different rallies and protests, and of course in Brisbane things do happen in an orderly manner, and there was this car rally which started from the Sikh temple in 8 Miles Place and ended up in Taigam at the Taigam Gurdwara. Many people who had time could come across, and I was invited to join in. Of course my time restraints, I could not, but I had been following that. Right now the last protest one that today, while we've been looking at what's happened, the Dutch protest, we've looked at the Brisbane protest, we've looked at the Melbourne protest. Now let's go to Delhi. So there you are, the scenes from Delhi, and as I said, tomorrow we'll bring to you all the updates of the parades and everything that took place there as well. And of course, I'd like to show my appreciation for Vishnu Maya Mandir for the recognition yesterday. I'm humbled by that. We will show you the glimpses of all that tomorrow. But right now, it's time to go for our interview for today. And that is the GlobeNet Realty, the weekly update of everything that's happening in real estate with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. And welcome to the show, Usha. Once again, it's good to see you back on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show. I hope you all had a great Australia Day and enjoyed your day off.
And of course, we all had a wonderful Australia Day. And it is always good to see all those celebrations. Now, moving on with the show, let's take a look at what's happening in real estate. First of all, we're going to look at the overall picture, what's been happening throughout the nation. So, of course, we all know that real estate is all about the listings. So, let's take a look at the listings and the capital cities and what's been listed for sale.
Yeah, the listings look like it has gone a bit down. Sydney, there was 3,464 listings. That was minus 4.4%. And the total number of listings was 12,984. And the overall 12-month was minus 16.2%. So that shows the downturn in the listings there. Melbourne was the best one actually. The most listings was listed in Melbourne, 4,705, and it was up by 20.8% in the last 12 months. That shows the total listings was 19,367, and it has increased in the last 12 months was 7.7%. It has really increased in Melbourne. Brisbane was, the total number of listings was 2,458, minus 14.9%, so almost 15% down. The total number of listings was 13,282 properties, and it was minus 31.2%. Adelaide was total number of listings was for the new listings was 1,167 and minus 9.7%, and the total number of listings was 4,680 and it was minus 37%. Perth was total number of listings was 2,448. 2.2% increase there. Total number of listings was 12,619, and it was in the overall it was minus 30%. Hobart was 213 listings, minus 25.3%, 12-month period change, and 646 total listings. It was minus 29.3%. Darwin was 94 listings, 11.3%, minus 11.3%, sorry. 619 listings and minus 41.2%. Canberra was 333, triple tree listings, minus 16.3%, 1,171 listings and minus 42%. So the combined capital cities, the total number of listings was 14,882 and 0.1 increase for 12 months, 65,368 listings in total, and it was still minus 20.5%. So that shows that there's most of the cities the listings was pretty down.
Okay, and we're still looking at quite a high volume of listings in Melbourne, so 19,367.
Yes, absolutely, and increased by 20.8%. So overall percentage for the last 12-month change was 7.7%. So there's a lot of listings coming in Melbourne.
Okay, and of course Darwin still remains the least number of listings, which is 619.
That's correct, yeah, 619, yes, so still...
and if you look at the percentage change, 42%, minus 42% in Canberra and plus 7.7% in Melbourne. So that says a lot about the market.
Definitely, but yeah.
Okay, so now looking at, we've seen the number of listings. So what would you say has been the change in the home values in all the capital cities, the 5 capital cities? Maybe if people would like to see, what the changes have been.
Yeah, it's a slight change. Only Sydney was weekly change was 0.1%, so monthly was 0.2%, and the year 12-month change was 2.1%. So it's a slight change there. Melbourne was 0.2%, a weekly change, and the monthly change was 0.3%, and yearly change was minus 2%. Brisbane was weekly change was 0.3%, and the monthly change was 0.8%, and the yearly change was 3.9%. Adelaide was 0.2%, and the yearly change was 0.6%, and the total 12-month change was 6.3%. Whereas Perth was 0.4%, the monthly change was 0.8%, and the 12-month change was 2.5%. So the value changes, it was the highest was in Adelaide.
Right. Yes, and Right, and Adelaide recorded 6.3% and Melbourne minus 0.2%. Wow, that's a big difference there when you look at plus 6.3 to minus 2%. So that's all, in the last two graphs, what we have looked at is, Melbourne on the other end of the peak.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, right. Now, moving on, as we know, that those have been the changes in the property market. But, of course, we know that the property market, the two that, we're talking about residential, obviously. So in residential, there's two areas which people are always interested in, the houses and the units and apartments. So, what has been the, prices that people have been getting, under the private treaty medium prices?
The median prices in Sydney, the house median prices was 837,500. It hasn't changed a lot at all, whereas compared to unit was 645,000. So it hasn't changed either. And total number of sales in Sydney in houses was 939, and number of sales in units was 506. Were quite large numbers. Melbourne was 1,384 number of houses sold, and the median price was 693,500. So that shows the Melbourne price has gone down. Last month it was $785,000. So it shows almost 100,000 reduction in price there. Whereas units are pretty stable there. Units in apartments, 684 the proper number of units in apartments sold, and 570,000 is their median price, which hasn't gone down too much. Whereas Brisbane, if you look at 622 number of sales, 511,500 is the median price. Last time when we discussed, 525 was the median price.
Right.
So Brisbane price has gone down a little bit as well, and number of units is gone down as well. 186 apartments and townhouses, 396,750. The increase in units is a little bit higher. The price, before it was 385,000, now it's gone by 10,000, just more over $10,000 in unit prices. Adelaide was 699, less number of sales. In houses, 508 is the median price. Their price is quite stable, 169 apartments and units, and 362,500. So it's not a very big change over there. Perth is 683 number of sales, and 470,000 is their median price. Their median price is still similar, and 201 apartments and units, 385. Apartments and units were under 200 before, so it's increased a little bit in the number of sales. Hobart is 99 properties sold, and 560 is the average price. The median price is quite steady over there, and 41 townhouses and apartments, and the average price is 446,000. Quite stable. Darwin is 49 properties in houses sold, and 570,000 is their average median price, which is quite stable, and only 15 townhouses and apartments sold, and their average median price is quite low actually, 285,000. It was 287,000 I believe last time when we discussed. Canberra only 48 properties, so 793,500. If you compare, Melbourne and Canberra were very similar prices in the last when we last discussed, and now look at Melbourne prices has gone by basically 100,000 lower than Canberra prices. And units and apartments, 558 apartments and units, 511,500 is their median price. So looking overall on combined capitals, 4,523 houses sold, and median price is 632,750. And whereas units and apartments were 1,860, and the median price is 527,377. So looking at all the capital cities, I mean, it has hasn't changed too much in the prices. Apart from Melbourne, the prices are quite down by 100,000 compared to Canberra.
But when on the same scale, if we look at Melbourne, the number of sales 1,384 compared to 48 sales in Canberra. So it says that there's less number of listings, hence the prices are going up, and there's more listings for sale in Melbourne, and then that's why the prices are going up. That brings us to the point that we discussed a few weeks back about where to buy, where would be the good place to buy at this point in time.
Exactly. I mean, it all depends on supply and demand. Obviously, the supply is very less in Canberra, so the demand is quite high, so people are paying really good prices. And compared to Melbourne, the supply is quite large, actually, compared to the whole capital cities. There's quite a lot of listings, that's why the prices are down. So it's the best time to buy in Melbourne because it's basically 100,000 lower than Canberra.
I rest my case.
Yes.
So moving on, we'll have to look at how long the properties are on the market in each cities, and of course when we look at the listings when they come on the market, vendors have a particular expectation, and then finally when they meet the market is when the sale actually eventuates. So that means there has been some percentage of vendors discounting. So if you look at all the capital cities as we have been looking at in the show, if you can look at the time on the market and probably the percentage of vendor discounting.
Yes, capital city medium prices on the market and medium vendor discounting results. Looking at Sydney first. Medium price for medium time on market was 44 days, and medium vendor discount was minus 2.3%. Melbourne was for 45 days and minus 2.2% discount. Brisbane was 54 days, I'm still amazed, minus 2.3% discount, whereas Adelaide has been on 42 days, 2.2% discount. Perth is 53 days and 2.6 discount, the vendor discounts. Hobart is 40 days, not applicable, so there's not much demand, not much negotiations there. And Darwin is 49 days, similar to Hobart, and it's not applicable as well. Canberra is 48 days. I'm still amazed that the properties are on the market for 48 days, minus 3.7% vendor discounts. So obviously the vendors who really want to sell the properties, they will meet the market and they will discount and get the transaction across the line.
And is that what you'll be finding locally as well?
Locally here, not really. I mean, we are finding quite a lot of properties. I mean, they come on the market, they sell fairly quickly, and the discounts are not that high. Some of them, if they are very overpriced, they have to come and meet the market. But normally, our vendors are quite educated, and they realistically price the property. They listen to the agents' views as well, and the data shows all the information, what properties are there next door and next street sold, and that's quite. We give them comparable marketing analysis, and our vendors are quite educated, and if they want to sell, they will meet the market and put it at the right price.
And I think the key there is what you have just mentioned about the data. So people can talk as much as they want, but they can't fight with the data. So the data is there as the proof. So the other part of the equation, you have just went through all the house sales nationwide, and the other equation is because these days people are investing in units and apartments as well. So what's been happening in that area as far as time on the market and the vendor discounting?
Apartments and units, they are on the market for a little bit longer period. There is quite a lot of supply in apartments and townhouses. There's a lot of them are selling off the plane as well. In Sydney, 63 days, minus 3.1%. And Melbourne has been 50 days, minus 1.8%. Brisbane is 74 days, minus 2%. Adelaide has 51 days, minus 2.3%. Perth is 50 days, minus 2.6%. Hobart is 37 days, not applicable. And Darwin is 56 days, not applicable. Canberra is only 54 days and not applicable at all. So that shows that the market, the apartments are remaining on the market much more longer compared to the houses.
And when we look at Brisbane, say 74 days on the market compared to 54 days for the houses, but the percentage discount in both the fields in houses and units is around the same, 2.3 and 2%. So vendors are not discounting that much on the units or apartments, and hence they're probably staying on the market for a little bit longer, or there might be an oversupply as well. So that's what the the charts indicate to me.
That's correct, yeah. So there's quite a lot of supply in townhouses and units in the area.
Okay, thank you very much for that national overview, and I mean it is wonderful to get those facts and figures and their stats every week because that shows the trend, and I think we've been following those trends and it shows a clear picture. And without the facts and figures and the data, as you just mentioned, people would just be like plucking figures out of the air, and it would be a guessing game. So you've done very well with all the providing all the facts and figures. Right now, coming back to our local area updates, number one, so what's happening generally in Brisbane?
Generally in Brisbane, the market is quite stable. There is a limited number of properties coming on the market because of the holiday period. A lot of people were planning for their holidays. They didn't want to put the properties on the market, and everybody had a break. So this last year and early this year, we had the longest break, and not many properties were coming on the market. Slowly, the owners are getting appraisals on their properties. So that shows the market will pick up a little bit more.
Okay, so when you market will pick up, when you say market will pick up, you mean listing wise?
That's correct, yeah. I'm doing an appraisal today, so hopefully we'll get that listing, and so there's a little bit of more the seller demands coming up, like appraisals and...
Okay, so we've discussed the Brisbane. Now let's take a very quick look at what's happening generally in the north side.
North side, the market is still steady. I mean, we have got lots of buyers, a lot of people inquiring for properties. We have just listed one on Monday, and I've got multiple inquiries on that property. I mean, we have listed it at $599, and I've already had a call in the car yesterday. This lady wants to pay a cash offer, and she's looking at the property tomorrow. And we've got the open house on that property, and I think it will sell on the weekend. It's got lots and lots of interest on the property. A few apartments are coming on the market as well. Couple of developers who were in the transaction period negotiating. I was talking to another developer on Monday, and he said his DA he's put the DA through the council and waiting for his subdivision. So there's a little bit of pickup in the market.
Okay, so that you've covered the north side. So now coming back to your agency, so what's been keeping the agency busy?
Our agency is very busy in rentals. The rental market is quite in demand. I mean, we have got a couple of properties only, but we are getting multiple inquiries and multiple applications on a property. I mean, we have just got one property which the tenants are vacating today, and we had a couple of people come through on Monday, and actually I showed, because the girls were very busy, I showed the property, and I think it will be gone by today.
Okay, so with the rental side, I was coming to the rental side as well. So the demand is still high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the vacancy rate?
Vacancy rate is very low. I mean, we've got only 1 or 2 properties which are coming on the market. The tenants are still there, so we can't call it vacant because it's not vacant. And hopefully we'll get those ones rented very quickly. As we discussed, there was a couple of tenants who were on break lease. Their properties are already occupied by new tenants coming up. And so, so the demand is quite high. Supply is still very limited, and we would like to get more stock. I mean, hopefully we'll get more stock for our renters. There's a lot of people who have got no homes to live. They are on our database waiting for a property to come.
Wow, so that is some interesting facts there, that there are people who are still looking for places and have no places to move into.
That's
so
good,
that shows a great demand. So, what sort of returns are people getting? What's the yield?
I mean, returns are very good. Actually, some of them are getting about 4 to 5% at the moment. The properties which are becoming vacant, where they were rented for $420, we are putting at $450 now. So the new rents are going by $20 to $50 depending on the property.
Okay, so, and I think the reason is that people are being given the job keeper and job seeker allowances as well, so they are able to meet the rent. So what's the arrears looking like?
Arrears are very good. Our arrears is only about 4 to 5% at the moment, and we count it arrears from day one. So from day one, as soon as if they go on 7.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
I believe your agency has introduced a 24 online portal.
Yes, everybody is amazed. I mean, we have got a lot of people looking at our window display. The TV screen is really good, and we have got the girls are putting and updating all the information every day, and we have got a scrolling screen where people can read testimonials. They can look at all the pictures of the properties, and even internal pictures, and the pricing, the description of the property. So it's really good. I mean, the girls are really excited, and we are we are next to a pizza place, doctor's surgery, a Chinese restaurant. So everybody is waiting for their meals and looking at our screen. So it's amazing.
Wonderful that you have a display screen there happening now, but coming of age with the digital, moving on from the normal window cards. And now, of course, I'm also talking about the console owner portal and the tenants app that they can download on their phone and access there. They can see where they paid up to, and of course, owners can log in and check their statement. So I think that's a big value-added service as well.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the owners don't have to, if they can't print out or if they've lost one of their statements, they can just log in on our portal and get their statements or any information about their property. So if they are looking, and the tenants can do the same, looking at their arrears. If they are behind in their rent, they can look at their tenant ledger and see where they're paid up to. So we don't have to send them any paper files or anything of that sort. The inquiry, I mean, the calls will be limited. The girls can do better job, and don't waste time in returning calls and things like that. So everything is hands-on, and people can look at our portal and get their own information.
So that's wonderful that that makes the office accessible 24/7 through the owner portal, where people can log in and have a look at where their tenants are paid up to, and if they have misplaced one of the statements, they can go back and reprint their statements, and they don't have to call into the office. And so all the information is available to them from their computer, from the comfort of their homes, when they want it, rather than having to wait for when the office opens. And a great service for the tenants is that they can always check whether where they're paid up to. They not necessarily that they always fall behind. It's just sometimes they don't know where they're paid up to. They can look at that. And the other good feature of that is that once they're vacating, they can calculate their pay till date and what they need to pay before they move out, because many times they overpay or less pay, and then there's always an adjustment at the moving out period. So I think that's a great value added services there. Once again, thank you so much for being on the show and providing all this wonderful update about what's happening in real estate.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, and have an awesome day.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the weekly update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty, and some very, very interesting facts and figures there, some of the stats, and as I mentioned before, that you can say anything, but you can't fight with facts and figures. Right now, let's take a look at some of the functions and events happening right here in Brisbane. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for your company this morning. As we know, yesterday was a very, very big day, so many functions and events, and somehow I survived. There's so many things that are happening out there, and once again, before I conclude, I'd like to show my appreciation for His Holiness Dharam Guru Pandit Tripathi Ji Maharaj yesterday for recognizing me at that function. We will show you the glimpses of that tomorrow. Really, really humbled and moved. And I'd like to thank all the special guests who took time out to attend the first community dinner of Vishnu Maya Mandir yesterday. And of course, congratulations to Hindu Society of Queensland on the 30th anniversary, and the reflection on how we started and how things have progressed over those 30 years. 30 plus years, 30 years ago was when we actually inaugurated it, but it was bought well before, and the renovations and other things that took place in the very beginning part, of course, and the flag raising ceremony at the Indian Consular Office, and of course FICQ's in Republic Day celebrations at Sunpack. So it's been wonderful having your company. It's always so good to see you. Thanks so much for joining in. Please do like and share our feed. And we'd also appreciate your feedback. We are strong enough to take it on the chin. Whichever way we're going, or any improvements that you would like to see. If there's any functions or events that you'd like to talk about, or any achievement that you'd like to talk about, or generally on any topic that you'd like to talk about, we'd love to have you on the show. We can get you on the show via so many different means. We can, get you on via video link, or even just an audio link if that you prefer. You can come into the office and the studio here as well. So there's so many different ways that you can be connected with the show. But the most important part is if you feel you have something to talk about, do not hesitate. Pick up that phone or send us a message via Facebook or YouTube message or whatever. There's so many means in which you can reach us. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of the day, but most importantly, remain safe.